The weather here in Baltimore, would it be cold? Would it be snowy? It is chilly, but it is a sunny day, and I guess if you're in New Orleans, it could be a heck of a lot worse, Brian Billick.
You couldn't ask for a better day, and even on a bad day, the wind has never really been a factor in here. I can't imagine Drew Brees could have better conditions to take on this Ravens defense.
Pierre Thomas will drop back and return kicks after the injury to Courtney Roby a week ago against St. Louis. He spent a couple of days in the hospital, and thankfully he's doing quite well. We're glad to hear it. Pierre Thomas was their primary kickoff return man in 2007, 2008. And he'll have to wait on his first kickoff return here in 2010 as the wind blows the football off the tee.
Right on key. Like I said, the wind is never a factor in the stadium.
Boy, it's amazing. We have the fans that are sitting right in front of us, and I know that you came in to this stadium before the game. Chris Myers was alongside you. And the reception of these fans for you, Brian Billick, after winning a Super Bowl as a head coach here back in that 2000 season is just amazing. It's
been great. I tell you what, it's coming home. Of course, I live in this area still, and the fans here, it's great to see the stadium personnel, the people that are so much a part of my life.
Well, after blowing off the tee a second time, Haruki Nakamura is going to go ahead and hold it.
And this always concerned me as a coach, because you lose a guy in one of your lanes. He'll get there eventually, but I hated it when we had to have someone come up and hold the ball, because it does affect the coverage lanes on the kickoff team.
Billy Cundiff, the best in terms of touchbacks in all the NFL. This one will take a bounce, and Thomas from the 1-yard line. Healthy again, Pierre Thomas. And a pretty good return up to the 23-yard line, and that's where Drew Brees. Few players in the free agency area have made the impact that Brees has made on the Saints since arriving in 2006. 4 consecutive 4,000-yard passing seasons. Healthy again with Reggie Bush and Pierre Thomas. They are without their backup tight end, David Thomas.
They feel like the interior of their line with Nix and Evans can match up with that great interior line of the Baltimore Ravens.
Incomplete on the first play from scrimmage. Brees had an eye on Marcus Colston. Let's take a look at Baltimore defensively. Ranks number 10 overall.
Well, this inside, Haloti Ngata and Greg, they're the key to stopping the run. Linebacking core, unheralded Jarrett Johnson, one of the best in the league at what he does. These two safeties, Dwan Landry and Ed Reed, are going to get challenged by the multiple personnel groupings of the New Orleans Saints.
2nd and 10. Colston, a short gain up to the 28-yard line. The first third down of the afternoon for Brees and New Orleans.
Well, this is New Orleans Saints all over it. Last week against the St. Louis Rams, in their first 15 plays, they had 13 different personnel groupings. We're going to keep a track of it today. This is their way of challenging the Baltimore Ravens personnel matchups.
3rd down and 6. Blitz coming. Incomplete. He had an eye on Robert Meacham. Good coverage by Josh Wilson. He was the hero in the victory in overtime against Houston. A game-winning 12-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Well, the secondary for the Baltimore Ravens was the question coming into the season, mostly due to injury. They're a deep group now, but they're going to be challenged by these multiple personnel and deep receiving core of the New Orleans Saints.
Thomas Morstead to punt it. Ladarius Webb has become the primary punt returner since week 11 and is averaging over 10 yards per return. And a poor punt by Morstead. Takes a Baltimore bounce. Did it hit a player? That is a live ball. And all the way back at the 30-yard line, it belongs to the Ravens. So that's where Joe Flacco, a #1 pick in 2008, will put it in play. Of course, Flacco in each of his first 2 seasons has taken Baltimore to the playoffs. They gave him so many weapons during the offseason. Ray Rice returns. They have a healthy LaRon McClain, who missed last week. Anquan Boldin, his favorite target.
And they've moved the offensive line around a bit. They've put Marshall Yanda back out at tackle, put Chris Chester back in at guard. We're going to see multiple groups along the offensive line for the Ravens.
The running game has been virtually non-existent for a team that is built through so many years on having an outstanding running game, and they're going against one of the best defenses in all of football here today.
It is. They're not getting the turnovers that they had last year, but this is a solid group. Jonathan Vilma anchors the inside, and the secondary, Roman Harper and Malcolm Jenkins, are going to have to come down to stop that running game of the Baltimore Ravens.
They'll run it on second down, and they'll lose yardage. Will Smith coming up to drop Rice. That'll be a loss of 4, so third down and long upcoming for Baltimore. The Ravens have the 2nd worst yards per carry average in the National Football League.
Yeah, and they're getting beat up at home a little bit about the run-pass ratio, but compared to last year, they're actually running the ball more than they did last year. They're just not running it as well.
Third down and 12. Flacco out of the shotgun for the first time. Down he goes. It's another area where Baltimore has not been good of late. In their last 3 games, they have allowed 13 sacks, and they serve up one, their first throwing down today.
Well, they just get caught with a little twist in here on the interior line, and the center, Matt Burke, and the guards didn't get it matched up, and he gets almost a free runner down at the legs, and Flacco goes down. This has got to be a concern for the Ravens. If they're not running the ball well, it affects their ability to play action pass.
Team high 6th sack of the year for Cedric Ellis. And now Sam Cook to punt inside his own 10. Short punt. And Breeze and the Saints will have very good field position for this 2nd possession of the game. Welcome back to Baltimore's 2nd possession of the game for the Saints offensively. They went 3 and out for just the 25th time this year when they got it to start the game. Play fake one way, come back the other way, and a former basketball standout at Miami, Jimmy Graham, who played just 1 year of football for the Hurricanes, makes the reception, a short gain on first down.
And it never ceased to amaze me that you can complete a pass off a play action. That was just a boot and waggle, and they haven't run the ball yet. Defenses just instinctively react to it. Jimmy Graham, someone that head coach Sean Payton's really excited about the potential of this young man. Huge target for Drew Brees.
Graham never saw it coming. Incomplete. Third down upcoming. Let's check in for the first time today along the sideline with Chris Myers. Hiya, Chris.
Hey, Tom and Brian. Sean Payton said not to worry about the weather. His team practiced outdoors all week. But John Harbaugh, the Ravens, the reason they deferred, they wanted, as the winds picked up down here on the field, they wanted Drew Brees going in this direction. The wind is blowing from Brees' right to his left. They thought it would be a disadvantage for him throwing under these kind of conditions early and maybe slow down this fast-starting offense.
Brees is hit on just 2 of 5 for only 8 yards. Five-man rush. Third down reception, good enough for a first down to the Baltimore 45 to Marcus Colson. And let's check in for the first time today back in L.A. with Kurt Menefee.
A big matchup in the AFC South. Colts and Jags. Jacksonville wins. They win the division. But on the first possession of the game, it's the Colts on the scoreboard. Austin Collie with a 7-yard reception from Peyton Manning puts them up 7-0. Peyton definitely glad to see Collie back after missing 3 weeks.
Look at that start for Manning. A big one for the Colts, and he delivers early. Reggie Bush, his first carry. and loses a couple of yards. Of course, Bush returned on Thanksgiving Day in Dallas after missing 8 weeks with a broken fibula, suffered in San Francisco in week 2. Last week had his most productive week, 81 all-purpose yards for Reggie Bush.
And he's a big part of stretching a defense because he's in the backfield. You can put him out like a wide receiver. With Chris Ivory out, they need him more in the running game, but he's a big part of this multiple formation attack that New Orleans has.
Ivory injured his hamstring last week, and a big gain for their leading rusher the last couple of years, and that's Pierre Thomas, and they're getting him back at just the right time after missing 9 weeks with an injured ankle.
Well, we thought New Orleans would come out throwing the ball, and that's exactly what they've done. But now that they're getting into their sequences of 15 opening plays, you can tell Sean Payton knows they want to run the ball. He's got Chris Ivory down, but he's got Reggie Bush up, Pierre Thomas. He's got the people he needs to run the ball, but still, Drew Brees is the one that's going to win this game for him.
Those were the people that led him to a Super Bowl. 3rd and a yard. And Thomas picks up the first down inside the 35, down to the 33.
Tom, we talk about the multiple personnel groupings of the New Orleans Saints. Think about this now. You've got 5 positions you can work with. They have roughly 15 people, and I mean by that, Reggie Bush kind of counts as 2 as a running back and a wide receiver. You do that simple math, that's 125 different combinations that Baltimore has to prepare for, both personnel and formation-wise.
Right. Brees gets it away, and just in the nick of time, and it's a flag. Maybe a late hit on Ed Reed.
Yeah, Ed Reed coming off the edge.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 20, defense, contact to the quarterback's helmet, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, just ill advised. You're going to see Ed Reed come off the edge here, and as he goes in, Drew Brees knows he's a man short. He's going to beat it with the throw. Ed Reed with the hand up in the air as he hits the helmet. It's going to get called every time. Thought he could maybe get to the ball. Ed Reed now putting him inside the 20. This is where Drew Brees is absolutely lethal. He's got a big Marcus Colston, a big Jimmy Graham, a big Jeremy Shockey. He's got a lot of targets down here in the red zone. Big Zach Strief, offensive tackles in here at fullback. Wonder what they're going to do with this. Throw, of course.
What a catch by Graham, and it's a touchdown. Jimmy Graham, the rookie out of Miami, his 2nd receiving touchdown of the year, and the Saints have jumped in front here in the opening quarter.
This is unbelievable. This is just the definition, pure definition of throwing a guy open. Drew Brees throwing the ball the only place he can, reaches up with one hand like pulling down a rebound. You can see why Sean Payton and Drew Brees get that wily little smile about them when this young man's name comes up.
So now Garrett Hartley for the point after. Brees throws his 29th touchdown of the season, that's 2nd most in the NFL. Point after is good. So on their 2nd possession of the game, New Orleans takes advantage of great field position and sticks it in the end zone. What a meteoric rise it has been for Jimmy Graham. We told you he played 4 years of basketball at Miami. Only played 1 year of football, and Brian Billick, that was in a part-time role, and now he's in a big-time role for the defending Super Bowl champion Saints.
Well, Sean Payton told us this kid's a 3rd-round draft choice, but he said when it's all said and done, he's not sure this young man might not be one of the top 5 picks of that draft. That's saying a lot.
Well, 7-0 New Orleans, 9:03 to play in the opening quarter. Thomas Morstead to kick it away. David Reed returned to kick off 103 yards for a touchdown in Houston last week. And he is hit and hit hard at the 23-yard line. Jimmy Graham said, Enough of basketball, but I can still throw it down. Baltimore with the football, trailing 7-0. Hey, sports fans, check out the all-new Fox Sports app. Complete sports coverage, scoring, video, and more in one sports app and 100% free. That's good news from Brian Billick.
That's some good stuff. I wonder if you can get Coach speak on that thing.
Get it today on iTunes. I bet you can. Ray Rice, a nice pickup on first down of close to 6 up to the 30-yard line.
Well, it's interesting. When we visited with Cam Cameron the other day, he said, you know, last year Ray Rice was the best offensive player we had, and that's why we ran the ball. He says Joe Flacco's the best player we've got right now. We know we need to run the ball, but we've got the receivers outside. They know they've got to get Ray Rice involved, both in the running game and the passing game.
Back on the ground with Rice again. Slips a tackle and has enough for a first down up to the 35-yard line. Some extra pushing and shoving going on at the bottom of the pile. Somebody's still down there.
Well, these two teams have a great deal of confidence. They both have what I call athletic arrogance. In other words, they have a great deal of belief in their talents. They have a great deal of respect for one another, and they're not so sure they're not going to see each other in February. And they believe that in their hearts.
And, of course, this year's Super Bowl is right here on Fox. Rice for a third straight carry, and a flag comes in late after a gain of 5. Walt Anderson, our referee.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 42, defense, hitting a player on the ground. 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's the 5-time Pro Bowler Darren Sharper.
Right at the end of the play, you're going to see him come in. Ray Rice coming down into here. Definitely going down, throwing the shoulder into the head. He was clearly down. Always a timing issue, just a little bit late for the officials' liking.
Darren Sharper missed the first 6 games of the season due to knee surgery. Playing in his 9th game here today since returning. So they tack on 15. It's first down Ravens at the New Orleans 45. Rice again. Not much room this time. Runs right into Jonathan Vilma, the middle linebacker.
Well, with the way the Ravens are running the ball right now, at some point pretty quickly here, we're going to see a hard play fake and a vertical shot down the field. That's how they come up with big plays. You can see the numbers on Ray Rice here. The Ravens not particularly explosive this year. They're 30th in the league in generating plays of 20 yards or more. They're going to need a couple of those today against this top 5 rated New Orleans Saints defense.
Set up a screen for Rice. And a gain of 9, caught from behind by Marvin Mitchell.
And this is where you ask a defensive lineman, you know what? If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you're coming to the quarterback unabated and no one's in your face, something's probably up. You like for that wide guy to recognize the screen. Ray Rice, one of the top receivers on this team, is very good at running screens.
3rd and less than a yard. And Flacco will keep it and has enough for a first down. While they move the chains, let's move back to Los Angeles and check in again with Kurt Menefee.
When you've lost 6 in a row, sometimes it's better to be lucky if you can't be good. Kerry Collins of Tennessee has a pick, maybe not, tipped directly into the hands of Kenny Britt for 59 yards. A couple plays later, they scored a touchdown on 4th down, and Tennessee leads at 14-0 over Houston. Tom and Brian.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Flacco escapes a sack and just throws it away. Of course, the Ravens today are playing without their perennial All-Pro tight end Todd Heap. That's back-to-back games that Heap has missed with an injured thigh/hamstring.
And they like their 2 young tight ends they drafted this year. Ed Dixon they got in the 3rd round, and Dennis Pita, who they got in the 4th round. Not quite obviously at Todd Heap's level yet. They'll also rotate an extra offensive lineman in to do their unbalanced and big tackle formations to run the ball.
Willis McGahee for the first time today. Picks up a yard. It'll bring up 3rd down and 9. Now for Greg Williams. We've been around him many, many times, a defensive coordinator the last couple of years with the Saints. He's not afraid to gamble and gamble frequently. What do you look for here, 3rd and 9?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by pressure because when you're 3rd and long like this, you're looking for the ball to get out of the quarterback's hands quickly, rally up and make the tackle. Anything short of the 9 yards, you win as a defense.
Many believe Greg Williams invented the word disruptive.
Well, he's got a good case for it. Yep, you can see they're all up. Got a whole lot going on right here.
Good protection and wide open down the middle of the field. And on his way to the end zone is Dixon.
Well, we just talked about bringing pressure. They bring it. Joe Flacco's got a couple guys running free. Somebody forgot to follow the tight end leaking out of the backfield. I promise you, Dixon started out protecting, then leaked out. As easy as a 30-yard touchdown as Joe Flacco's had this year.
First career touchdown for the rookie out of Oregon. So both tight ends into the end zone. 4:43 to play in the opening quarter. We're tied at 7. Seven game. What happened on that touchdown pass to Dixon?
We talked about the pressure package. Vilma's in here. I don't know if he was confused or just saw that. You can see Dixon protects, the back stays in. He starts to green dog right now. Stop it right here. He stepped up. He thought he was going to green dog, meaning come after protection, and right there Dixon gets in behind him. I don't know if it was a mental error or he thought somebody else had Dixon.
So a 7-7 affair. Pierre Thomas from the 8-yard line. And he's up to the 28. Can Breeze answer the Baltimore score?
As Captain Doug Pruitt, just want to say Merry Christmas to my wife Molly and my kids Adelaide and Ernest, and to my parents. Merry Christmas.
Captain Doug Pruitt, Merry Christmas to you and all the men and women away from your families during this Christmas season. Our thoughts and prayers are with you every day. Pitch it to Julius Jones. His first carry of the afternoon. And he's wrapped up by Chris Carr. Of course, Jones joined New Orleans in week 6 after spending the first 3 weeks of the season in Seattle.
It's been a rotation of backs. Pierre Thomas went down. Chris Ivory has stepped in very well for them, but he is down now today. They've got to build this stable of backs if they're going to keep this running profile throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs.
Ivory has had an outstanding rookie year. Breeze just throws it away under heavy heat. Tavares Gooden along with Ed Reed in hot pursuit. I'm not sure what's going on here. Did not see a flag. I think the Ravens are claiming that Breeze should be whistled for intentional grounding, and now a flag does indeed come in after they talk it over.
Yeah, if he gets outside the pocket.
Intentional grounding, number 9 of the offense. The quarterback was outside of the pocket. However, the ball did not get to the line of scrimmage.
First you can see all this pressure right here. This forces Drew Brees out of the pocket. You're going to see he doesn't know who's coming. It's a jailbreak inside. He's outside the pocket. Once you get outside the tackle box and get outside the pocket, the ball has to pass the line of scrimmage. It did not.
Well, 3rd down and 21. They need to get all the way up to the 38-yard line to convert. Breeze throws down the middle of the field and nearly intercepted by Ladarius Webb. Had both Henderson and Meacham in the same area code.
Well, those are the kind of throws that Drew Brees now, and uncharacteristic for him. 18 interceptions. It's those kind of throws that have led to the 18 interceptions he's already had. A little ill-advised to just throw. He's got a lot of faith in his big receiver, Marcus Colston, but those are the types of interceptions that have nagged him so far this year.
Thomas Morstead punts from inside his 5-yard line. Great hang time on this punt. And Webb signals for a fair catch. Great field position for Baltimore, however, from its own 41-yard line. We're Super Bowl 45. From Arlington, Texas, and Cowboy Stadium. Comes your way right here on Fox, February the 6th. Well, the Saints return to the Super Bowl for a second straight year. What about these Ravens? They've not been back to the Super Bowl since Brian Billick was roaming the sidelines.
Well, don't for a minute think that's not on the minds of these guys. They recognize they could be facing each other in February, but they got a lot of football to play between now and then.
Both of these teams a game back in their respective divisions. Baltimore in the AFC North behind the Steelers, whom they split in 2 games this year. And New Orleans 1 game behind red-hot Atlanta in the NFC South. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee back in Los Angeles.
And Tom, Tampa Bay's 1 game behind the Saints in the NFC South. Today they're taking on Detroit. And Nate Burleson bowls his way to the end zone for the Lions, giving them a 7-0 lead. Of course, Detroit trying to snap an NFL record 26-game road losing streak. Tom and Brian.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. Of course, the Lions got a big home win last week after they knocked out Aaron Rodgers with a concussion, and Rodgers will not play in New England later tonight. Good running room for Ray Rice in Baltimore early on today, running the ball far more effectively than they have in quite some time. They've really only had 1 big running game this year, and that was against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, these are good numbers to start with. They've got to like the way they've started their running game. And as I said earlier, what that does is then allow you to play action fake and get the ball down the field, whether it's to Anquan Boldin, TJ Houshmandzadeh. They've got Dante Stallworth now in the lineup. He's the one guy on this team that can take the top off that defense or stretch his own. Unfortunately for them, Stallworth is not playing today, and so you can see where these New Orleans DBs might sit on these receivers.
Well, just short of converting on that carry was Ray Rice, so it'll bring up 3rd down and inches. The last time Baltimore had this situation, Flacco just took care of business himself.
6'5", all you got to do is fall forward. He's going to get 4 yards.
We'll bring 3 wide receivers to the sideline and bring in an extra offensive lineman. 7-7 game with 2:35 to play in the opening quarter. Well, they're going to pitch it, and he didn't get there. Will Smith turned him back into the inside, and then Danny Clark finished the job. And what does John Harbaugh do here? Does he think about going for it in midfield?
Well, you're facing one of the best offenses in the National Football League, and to put them on a short field, you're not going to do that arbitrarily. I always struggle on a 3rd and 1 to turn and pitch the ball back to a guy now that is 7 and 8 yards deep. You got to gain 7 or 8 yards just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
4th down and less than a yard. They pitch it to Rice all the way down to the 29.
And you see this type of play all the time. I want you to stop it right here. They haven't created an edge. They're all in here to come in and take care of the fullback. You give a quick little jab, then pitch it out. That's poor alignment by the New Orleans Saints. You got to have a guy that's as wide as the widest, deep as the deepest. Play action vertical right here. Great place for it.
They're going to give it to McGahee. And McGahee down to the 25-yard line. He signed his Originally with the Buffalo Bills out of Miami, and then came over in a trade. You had him for a year here in Baltimore.
He was a great addition for us, and you can see here for the Ravens now, this is just what they want. They've been criticized for not running the ball enough, which is not fair because they have, as well as they have the last 2 years. As we've said, they haven't run it as effectively, but this is the game they want to play right now in late December, going into January. We got a big offensive line. We got two pretty good backs. We can shove it at you and build our play action passes off of it.
Play clock down to 1. Flacco able to get the snap. Gives it to McGahee. He has another first down. Inside the 20, down to the 16.
And everybody in the league wants to have a two-back combination, and they've got it here. Obviously with Willis McGahee, and you throw in Rice, that's a good 1-2 combination.
A good first quarter. 7-7. Fox NFL Sunday continues after these messages. Numbers from the opening quarter. 58 rushing yards for Baltimore. They had 63 in regulation and overtime in Houston last week. Flacco to throw. Incomplete. Too tall for the intended receiver, the rookie David Reed.
And in visiting with Joe Flacco, for a young quarterback, I'm impressed with his ability and willingness to turn his back to a defense. Obviously, you run the ball the way they're running it now. You play action fake. You come out of it a bit blind. A lot of young quarterbacks aren't comfortable doing that. He is very comfortable because he knows a good play fake creates the one-on-one matchups outside.
So their first pass play on this drive. The front six plays all on the ground, and they'll go back there to Rice. He's to the 10, which will bring up third down in less than 3.
Well, for the Ravens, when you on the inside, Marshall Yanda, who they had moved out to tackle last week, you put him inside at guard and then back outside at tackle. I think he's more suited for guard. Chris Chester, they've got a guard. They're worried about his size, but so far they've run the ball very well inside with Chris Chester at guard. They've got to be pleased with the way they're pushing around this New Orleans line.
First down and a touchdown for Ray Rice.
Just spoke about Chris Chester. Nice block up front by the guard here. I want you to watch the lead block by Chester, and I want you to watch the patience of Ray Rice. Cam Cameron told us that we're not timing up our running game well. There you can see Ray Rice shuttles his feet, waits for the opening, and then bursts into the end zone.
Point after attempt by Billy Cundiff is good. Ravens fell behind 7-0 and now lead for the first time today in the opening minute of the second quarter. Nine plays, 58 yards. 8 of the 9 plays rushing, and all 58 yards came on the ground.
Yeah, huge for the Ravens, and now we got to see Drew Brees and Sean Payton respond. They're kind of through their openers now. Sean Payton's gone through all the personnel and formation groupings that he wants. Now we're going to see what kind of plan he wants to come up with now that he's through his openers for this Raven defense.
Saints come into this game having ripped off 6 consecutive wins. And the turnaround began with a victory over another team from the AFC North. That was that win over the Steelers down at the Superdome. Thomas from the 7. Flag down, and a good return by Thomas. The question is, will they bring it back?
During the return, holding number 64, receiving team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Sean Payton, of course, led the Saints to its first ever Super Bowl title last year. Talked about the 6 consecutive wins, dynamite on offense and defense. And in 5 straight games, 30 or more points for the second time in franchise history. Meanwhile, here at home, not a kind place to visitors. since John Harbaugh took over, allowing fewer than 15 points per game, and look at the turnover ratio. My, oh my. Backed all the way up to the 11. Brees to throw it. And behind the intended receiver, Lance Moore.
Well, Drew Brees on a couple instances now has tried to poke a hole in this pressure package of the Baltimore Ravens with a couple of these quick slants, and he hasn't connected one on one yet. And that's the problem with the quick game. You don't get a lot of yardage. It does handle pressure, but it's got to be high percentage, and right now he's not getting that high completion percentage out of his quick game.
Brees has missed on his last 3 pass attempts. Had to lay that one off to Jeremy Shockey. Defended beautifully by Jared Johnson. 3rd down upcoming.
Well, we talked about opening against the St. Louis Rams last week, the player formation distribution. And here you can see 13 different personnel groupings in the first 15 plays. So he has done all the probing he wants to decide where he's going in terms of the personnel and the formations. We're going to see what the plan develops into now.
Third down, blitz coming. Brees throws. Incomplete. Right into double coverage. Reed and Landry step for step with Colston. So it's 3 and out again for the Saints.
Drew Brees just a little late out of the throw. I'd like to gotten that up just a little earlier and wider. Great coverage by the underneath with Ed Reed coming over the top. I promise you, Drew Brees is being affected by knowing where is Ed Reed.
Baltimore should get very good field position again. As for a second straight time, Morstead punts from his own 5-yard line. Webb cuts it back the other way, crossing midfield, inside the 40. And good field position indeed after a big return by Ladarius Webb. What a difference he's made since becoming their punt returner 3 weeks ago.
And I want you to watch the way he sets this up. He baits them, then coverage or protection comes on the backside. He reverses field. So often you see big returns in the special teams play with that type of move. Draw them into one side and then reverse your field and go back to the opposite.
42-yard punt, 24-yard return by Webb. A 3rd-round pick a season ago out of Nicholls State. McGahee runs right into Danny Clark.
Well, the Saints, Tom, are a much better defense than they were last year. They haven't quite generated the turnovers that they had last year, but they're clearly in the top 10 in so many key categories, but we're not seeing it here because right now the Baltimore Ravens are pushing around the front 7 of the New Orleans Saints pretty good.
The 2nd down for Flacco. We'll call it 2nd and 7 at the 31. Set up the screen again to Rice. And Will Smith catches him from behind, but not before he picks up a 1st down inside the 20. You know, Brian, you look over the last couple of years under John Harbaugh, in December and January, the Ravens have roughly averaged better than 150 rushing yards per game. Barely over 100 in the month of December through 2 games up until today.
Well, they know that that's a priority, and some of it has to do with the teams you're playing and what they're going to give you. This is a team that's committed to the run. They're among the top teams the last 2 years in running the ball. They want to run the ball now. As we said earlier, they just have to do it better, and they're doing a lot better job of it today.
Flacco calls timeout. Baltimore knocking on the door again, leading by 7. But generally, when you run it well, you'll own time of possession.
And the time of possession is useless unless it leads to points, and it has for the Baltimore Ravens. That's a good combination for them.
Ravens leading 14-7. First down at the Saints 17. It's Rice again. And he's inside the 15 to the 14, tripped up by Roman Harper. Let's go downstairs to Chris Myers.
Well, Tom, Bryant's been talking about the Baltimore running game. It's not that they wanted to go back to it. They never left it. They just wanted to be more efficient. And the two things Cam Cameron, their offensive coordinator, said weren't working: impatient play calling and backs pressing, trying to make a big run and messing up timing of the line. And that was one of the things they talked about after the last drive. Timing has been good. Usually you think of timing in a passing game, but the timing in the running game is working for the Ravens. They're talking about it on their sideline when they're not out running the football.
Rice for close to 3. It brings up a third down. They need to get just inside the 8-yard line to convert.
And we saw that timing that Chris is talking about on the touchdown play. Just that subtle hesitation. Let the line develop itself. Cam Cameron talked about the backs weren't timing up with the offensive line. They were pressing the hole too quickly. If it's something as subtle as getting that timing down, they got a big offensive line, they got two pretty good backs, there's no reason to think that the Baltimore Ravens running game isn't going to be able to sustain themselves through the rest of this playoff drive.
Will Smith pointing at Michael Orr.
Ball start, number 74, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
That is Orr's 8th false start penalty this year, most among offensive linemen in the NFL. Of course, he's had to move from right tackle to left tackle this year after the injury to Jared Gaither.
You can see right here on this left side, and it's been interesting. Michael Orr, now in this instance, once they jumped, he must have seen a flinch. They had to talk to the league. This guy is such a great athlete. He gets off the ball so quickly, he was getting called for a lot of offsides when in fact he wasn't.
A third down and 11. Jump ball for Ray Rice.
What a perfect throw by Joe Flacco. This is like dropping it into a bucket 20 yards deep. Ray Rice is all of 5'8". This isn't throwing to a big Todd Heap and go up and get it. You got to drop it into the bucket perfectly, and Joe Flacco did to Ray Rice for the touchdown.
Dropped it right in there behind Shanley and in front of a charging Darren Sharper. 21-7 Baltimore. 21 unanswered by the home team. A rushing touchdown in the opening quarter for Rice. Now a 17-yard receiving touchdown. All set up by great field position after the return by Ladarius Webb. And Greg Williams looking for answers on that Saints sideline.
Well, he's doing everything he can. He's dropping safeties down in the box. He's moving linebackers around. But right now, he hasn't cracked the code of this running game of the Baltimore Ravens.
Very short kick, which is rare indeed for Cundiff. And Thomas brings it up to the 35-yard line. Of course, when you're down to the final 3 weeks of the season, Brian Billick, you're always scoreboard watching. The Giants have jumped all over Philadelphia 14-3 in the NFC East. Dallas 13-7 leading their rival Redskins in the second quarter, and Tampa Bay fell behind but rallies to go in front by 7. The biggest game in a number of years for St. Louis today.
How about that? On top of the Kansas City Chiefs, that huge battle out at the NFC West.
Julius Jones runs right in to Elodie Nada.
I think what we're seeing a little bit here right now, Tom, is the New Orleans Saints, this Baltimore Ravens defense, if you have not faced it, it just has a different feel about it. It's like when you used to play Barry Sanders or when you play Peyton Manning. If you're not used to it, you're not used to the tempo, the athleticism, the physicality, it takes some getting used to. And right now, it doesn't look like New Orleans is quite used to the tempo that this Baltimore Ravens defense is setting.
Flag down, free play perhaps for Brees, and he's going to try and make the most of it. Looking for Meacham. And knocked away. Good coverage by Ladarius Webb. But again, a flag down.
Offside, number 99, defense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
You can see here just a little jump in there right on the inside. Now Drew Brees knows he's got a free play. This always worries you as a coach because you hope they saw it the right way. And Meacham, who has been a big play receiver for him. He doesn't have a lot of receptions, but I believe he has, 5 touchdowns? He's been a big play guy for them and shows up just at the key time.
Movement along the line of scrimmage once again, this time Corey Redding.
Encroachment, number 93, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, getting a little anxious now. Baltimore feeling their oats. They like to get a jump on this offensive line. And you're talking about a veteran quarterback in Drew Brees, even on the road. He can work with that count a little bit now. John Harbaugh wondering, guys, let's don't give them too many first downs here, okay?
On first down, they'll give it to Pierre Thomas. He crosses midfield to the 49.
We talked about the personnel groupings of New Orleans. This is what Ray Lewis had to say, how they were going to deal with the multiple formations and personnel that New Orleans has.
We can play a great game with Drew this week from the aspect of giving him something that he thinks he has, but then he don't have. Showing him something that he thinks is coming, but it's not coming based off the same look. You know, one blitz may look the same way, but it may be a zone. A zone may look the same way as a blitz. And so all of it is just really playing the game with him and really trying to get him out of his rhythm.
Second down, they set up the screen to the tight end Jimmy Graham and defended perfectly by Baltimore. It brings up third down and 8.
And this is just this back and forth between two future Hall of Famers, in my opinion. Ray Lewis, a slam dunk Hall of Famer when it comes time. Drew Brees certainly on a course for that. And this is this constant back and forth. Ray Lewis, the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens defense, giving him different looks, baiting him into some things that maybe he's not quite used to seeing.
Even though we're only in second quarter, this feels like a big play for the Saints.
It does. They need to sustain this drive right here. Nobody's better than them in the league in third and longs. They need to convert right here.
Brees. Sacked. The middle of the pocket collapsed.
And that's one of those looks that maybe confused Drew Brees just a little bit. You see in simple 4-man rush here. They bring the late pressure by the safety once the back is involved. Secondary-wise, I don't know what Drew Brees thought he was going to get. He had to hold on to it. It wasn't clear-cut to him. Right now, this chess match between Ray Lewis, the Baltimore defense, and Drew Brees is in favor of the Baltimore Ravens.
Heavily in favor. Only 49 yards of offense for the Saints. Webb, a fair catch. Inside his own 20, his own man ran into it. Crowd looking for a flag, none coming. We invite you to join us for college football Friday, January the 7th, one of the most anticipated bowl games of the season. The LSU Bengal Tigers and the Texas A&M Aggies. 75th AT&T Cotton Bowl Classic live from Dallas. Begins at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, January the 7th in high definition on Fox. It has been the Ray Rice Show. That was a pretty regular act last year, not as frequently this year.
Yeah, when we said Cam Cameron says that Joe Flacco's now his best player, doesn't mean Ray Rice got bad. It just means Joe Flacco got a lot better.
Rice going to get it again on first down.
Roman Harper trying to get this group together. And right now, it's not necessarily the secondary. He may be telling guys, we got to hang on here because we got to put a whole bunch of people in this box to stop this running game of the Baltimore Ravens, which would lend itself to a shot down the field by Joe Flacco with a hard play fake and going downfield to maybe Anquan Boldin for a big play. They got to do something to stop this run of the Baltimore Ravens.
Harper in pursuit of Flacco, able to get it away to Dixon, but Vilma drops him back at the 20. That'll be a loss of 2. And again, let's check in downstairs with Chris Myers.
And Tom, behind the Saints bench, Roman Harper paraphrasing, he was indicating don't bite on what Flacco does. They're worried about the run. He was still in awe of that throw by Flacco for the touchdown pass. Also, Jabari Greer, starting corner with a lower leg injury on the bike, trying to get back in. He's out for the moment, so Lee Torrance in at corner, an injury in the Saints secondary. Let's go back up to Brian and Tom.
All right, thank you, Chris. Here you see Torrance at the bottom of your screen, number 24. And they're trying to pick on Torrance, looking for Mason. All the way to the 37-yard line. Another beautiful throw by Joe Flacco.
And we talked about the ability of Baltimore to get the ball down the field. They don't have that guy can stretch it, but watch Derek Mason here with a double move. Subtle sets, gets the hand by, and the DB was waiting to jump on the out route. Mason going right by him. Not necessarily a guy with big speed, but it's amazing how often Derek Mason can get behind a defense without having great speed.
Down to 5:15 to play until halftime. And Baltimore trying to tack on. First touch today for Boldin. And only picks up 2. Boldin, 59 receptions, their leading receiver. Not piling up the yards like he did in Arizona. This is his first year with the Ravens.
No, but he's been a huge addition for the Baltimore Ravens. He gives them a physical presence at wide receiver, not just obviously in catching the ball, blocking down the field, that they've not had here in combination with the TJ Houshmandzadeh, the precise route running of a Derek Mason. This is a solid receiving core.
Rice dropped by Alex Brown. It'll bring up 3rd down and long, and officials stopping the clock at 4:25.
It's going to be an interesting call by the Ravens. We said earlier, Tom, 3 points right here would be huge.
That's why we had to stop at the clock. I beg your pardon, Brian. It was a timeout by the Saints.
Okay. But an interesting call for Baltimore because up the way they are right now, 3 points is huge. They're clearly outside the range of their field goal kicker right now. You've got a 3rd and long. Cam Cameron, do I go for the first down yardage? Always want to be aggressive. Or I'm willing to hand the ball off or dump it off underneath. If I can get good 4 or 5 yards, I'm in field goal range. That would be huge for the Ravens right now. So his play calling, he's going to give himself a shot down the field for the first down, but he's probably telling Joe Flacco, if you want to dump this ball off, that's just fine. Get us into field goal position.
And meanwhile, for Greg Williams, the yards just keep on coming for Baltimore against his stout defense, what has been a stout defense the entire year up until today.
I'd watch for Anquan Boldin right here in the slot. The go-to guy for him on this 3rd down. Oh, goodness.
This will be against Baltimore.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 66, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's the left guard, Ben Grubbs, and this has been, by and large, a penalty-free Baltimore team this year. They are on pace for the 2nd fewest penalties of any Ravens team in franchise history.
And you can see John Harbaugh's frustrated because he knows that changed the equation now. Now it's almost more of, all right, let's just get back in field goal position. We may still send a guy vertical for that 1st down, but we got to get a bigger chunk of yardage now to get back into field goal position.
Only a 3-man rush. Flacco drops it off to Rice, and he is wrapped up at the 34-yard line. This would be roughly a 51-yard field goal try. Do you think about going for it here on 4th down?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that a punt depends on the faith you have in your punter to drop the ball inside the 20-yard line.
Well, they got the best in the business with that because Sam Koch leads the world in that category.
Yeah, but it looks like they're going for a field goal here. They have the faith in the leg of Cundiff. He's got a big leg. The wind, like I said, you can see the markers here, not real huge. This is a long old field goal. You hope it's not too flat and gets blocked.
He's only hit on 4 of 13 from 50 and beyond in his career. And perhaps John Harbaugh thought long and hard about it and has changed his mind.
Yeah. Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Brian, would you think about going for it here? I mean, you're at the 34-yard line. You have a big lead, a good lead at 21-7.
Yeah, 3rd and that distance, it's still a bit of a bet. But like you said, you just said, Sam Koch's pretty good at this. If you can drop them now inside the 15, inside the 10, with the way you're playing defense and the score you have right now, this is probably the prudent thing to do.
Okay. Koch is on pace to tie the all-time NFL records for punts inside the 20. And this one is downed at the 1, but there is a penalty flag. We've got them all over the field, 2 of them in fact. So we'll wait.
This could be offsetting. The gunner down here on the bottom definitely moved before the snap. That's half of this equation. Now
there's a sideline involving a gunner. You were right in the thick of that news after what happened with the New York Jets last week.
Well, right now John Harbaugh is trying to figure out whether I'm going to have to punt this thing again or I'm going to get back. If they get backed up, it actually suits them better. I don't know what's taking so long to sort this thing out. Yeah. The offsides here at the gunner on the bottom, and then obviously holding at the top end. So it's offsetting. They're going to get a chance to kick this thing again.
Illegal shift on the offense. Holding during the kick on the receiving team. By rule, the receiving team has elected to offset the fouls. We'll replay 4th down.
Well, Koch was near perfect. Obviously he didn't want to give Koch another shot at it, but this thing went out on the 1 or 2 yard line. He's hoping this one goes into the end zone, brings it back out to the 20.
He'll get the job done again. I mentioned there's been a lot of talk about the sidelines in the NFL after what happened with the Jets last week. Chris, how about that?
Yeah, the league sent out a memo reminding teams of the rules and enforcing sidelines, and they've always been clearly marked, but we always don't pay as close attention. Obviously, the white stripe area during game activity is for official use only, off limits, and then this clear barrier in the Ravens sideline back to this yellow line, is where only active players who are substitutes or coaches are supposed to be. But obviously, players who are excited about the game forget about the boundaries, and that was something Rex Ryan and his team were accused of going beyond the boundaries. I know he learned from you, Brian Billick.
Well, there's a shot.
And a completed pass down the middle of the field to Marcus Colston. He's up to the 35. Of course, you were in the news in New York after visiting with your old buddy Rex Ryan.
He didn't learn well enough because you don't line them up straight. If you're going to do that, stagger them. Make it harder for the guy to get down the field. So this is where New Orleans is lethal now. Drew Brees is in his element when you're going to allow him to spread it out.
Plenty of time for Brees and the Saints. 2:45 to play. Reggie Bush in the open field and a nice tackle. Laid in that open field. by Dannell Ellerbe. He got a lot of playing time last year, not as much this season.
And this is where the Ravens were tested last week against the Houston Texans when they got spread out. Houston able to move up and down the field. Drew Brees trying to find that same magic here.
Bush beat Ray Lewis, and he's down to the 38-yard line. That'll take us down to the 2-minute warning. So Brees and the Saints marching down the field for the first time since the opening quarter. All of a sudden, this New Orleans offense has sprung to life on this drive. Brees 3 for 3, spanning 55 yards, trailing 21-7.
Well, Baltimore may have to pressure this no-back look, because right now, Drew Brees has got a hot hand.
First down at the Baltimore 37. They set up a screen to Reggie Bush. And he's inside the 35 to the 33. Clock at 1:50 and counting. Saints have 2 timeouts remaining. We have them in Christmas lights for you this week.
Oh, I like that. I like that. 2 timeouts up in here. Obviously, they're in great shape.
Dangerous throw, but a catch is made, and losing his footing is Devery Henderson, or that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, he is very upset he lost his footing there. And we said, what do you have to do? You're going to bring some pressure. You can't let Drew Brees slice you up. But when you bring pressure, you have man in behind it, and against this group, that leaves you vulnerable.
So 1st and 10 for the Saints at the Baltimore 16. Bush beats Webb, stays on his feet, and he's shoved out of bounds, although the clock will continue to run at the 11-yard line. Perhaps Bush should have thought better of that and just step out of bounds once he beat Webb on the first try.
Yeah, once he saw it was bracketed in, at that point the time is more important than the yardage. But they're still in great shape. They've got the 2 timeouts. Drew Brees a master at this 2-minute offense. Back to no back.
Shockey to the 1-yard line. And New Orleans will spend a timeout here.
Well, you can see here, Shockey's in here. They're going off to a zone. We just saw Baltimore bring pressure, get beat versus man coverage. Now it's just zone coverage. Safety over the top. The linebacker not able to keep Shockey from getting to the inside. Drew Brees going to his big tight end, and clearly he's down the 1. They want an orchestrated call here. That's why they called timeout. They still have a timeout left with lots of time. New Orleans in great position now to strike back and bring this back into a 1-score game.
So 5 new bodies check in from the sideline, including Heath Evans in the backfield, an extra tight end, and Jimmy Graham. Brees 7 of 7 for 91 yards on this drive. And we'll see if they're just going to hand it off to try and bring it within 7. They're in the I formation. And they're going to throw out of the I. Thomas. And he's denied the end zone.
Well, that's much like just a pitch or a toss play is all that was, or a variation of it. They've got to get up to the line and get this second call off right now. They want to save that last timeout for a more orchestrated 3rd down call.
They're going to throw it again. And this time a touchdown to Graham, his 2nd of the afternoon. And a much-needed drive and score by the Saints.
And that no-huddle play, they clearly called 2 plays in the huddle. That really stretches a goal line defense, because now you have to make the determination, we're going to sell out to the run. This is as old as football. Any high school or college team the same way. Play fake, put the tight end to the corner. Ray Lewis focused more on the inside, thinking it was going to be the run.
Drew Brees has just tied Steve Young for 21st on the all-time touchdown pass list, 232 in his career.
Looked like for a minute here that Ray Lewis, oh, there's a hold there. They got away with it. I don't know why you're having to hold the fullback. Ray Lewis, for a minute, you can see him looking back inside. I think somebody else was responsible for Graham. Lewis got caught trying to cover. As they step up right here, I don't know if it was the outside defender, but Ray Lewis looked back inside like, hey, man, this is not my guy. You're supposed to be with the outside receiver.
So here we are in a game that by and large has been dominated by the home team Baltimore Ravens, yet after that 92-yard drive, the Saints are within 7.
And that's the kind of pressure a Drew Brees, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady puts on you. They're never out of it. I can't imagine John Harbaugh orchestrating a better first half for his offense, running the ball. They get a lead. Defensively, they're playing solidly, but you're talking about a possible Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees with a gifted, healthy group of receivers. I'm not sure we won't come out in second halves and see a little more of this spread out offense by New Orleans, because it was very effective that last drive.
And of course, the Ravens' problem has not been by and large how they have played in the first 30 minutes or even for the first 45 minutes. Most of their problems have occurred, especially on defense, in the final 15 minutes. So we'll see how that plays out here today.
Well, the question for the Baltimore Ravens coming into the season, Tom, was about their primarily their secondary. Ed Reed wasn't going to play in the first 6 games of the season. Ladarius Webb was hurt. Fabian Washington. They brought in some people to shore up the secondary. It's played pretty well, but the last couple weeks, we've talked about the Houston game you saw right there. This secondary, this still remains a question mark for the Baltimore Ravens.
Line drive kickoff picked up by Parmalee, and he has some daylight in front of him, still on his feet. And all the way up to the 47-yard line. There's 14 seconds remaining. And the Ravens have a couple of timeouts left to try and get into field goal range. Coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will tell you about the Giants and the Eagles. A big battle today in the NFC East. And, boy, what is going on in Washington? Donovan McNabb benched this week. Redskins are in Dallas. It has been a tough first year for Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, he's trying to establish a culture there in Washington, and so far it's not coming together.
Flacco to throw it. And it's knocked down. Played nicely in the secondary by Tracy Porter, who missed 4 games this year after knee surgery, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he does. He took a chance here now. He undercut this thing. Had he missed this thing, this was going to put them into scoring position. He judged that just right. And, boy, if he's a half inch off or just a half a step late, that'd have been a catch by Derek Mason.
Flacco. He's going to have to just cut it loose now. He's going to be out of time. Still on his feet and throws into the end zone, and it's batted away. Darren Sharper making sure no one wearing a Baltimore uniform would get their paws on the Hail Mary. A very entertaining first half. Baltimore leading New Orleans 21-4 time. And we'll be back to Baltimore in a moment. Welcome back to Baltimore. 21-14, the Ravens in front. You can follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. Two teams that plan on playing well into the month of January. And 7 points separate them at halftime. Let's go to our Billick breakdown. Things to look for here in the second half.
Well, Baltimore wants to keep doing what it's been doing, and that's run, baby, run. Where are the big plays? New Orleans is going to need some big plays to get some scores against this Baltimore defense. And third down conversions. New Orleans #1 in the league in third down conversion, only 2 of 6 today.
Jalen Parmalee back to receive the kickoff. Baltimore won the toss, you may remember, and deferred to the second half. We understand David Reed is out with a concussion, and that's why he's not returning kicks. Let's check in downstairs with Chris Myers.
Well, Tom, the Saints spread offense that worked so well at the end of the first half, I asked a rather tense but confident John Harbaugh if he thought he'd see it again, and he snapped, "I hope so. We'll be ready for it." He made it a point to say his defense would be okay in the second half. Now, Sean Payton told his team at halftime, "We're healthy, we're well rested. The Ravens came off a short week. We'll have the edge, even though it's on their turf here in the second half." And Sean also said defensively they'll make some adjustments to try and plug up the run and force Flacco and the Ravens to throw. So back upstairs.
Always great to have Chris Myers with us. Was last week and is again this week. Well, there's an early adjustment. A first down carry and a 1-yard loss. New Orleans got on the board. Second possession of the game, a touchdown to Graham. But then Dixon answered right back to tie it. Ray Rice on the ground to give Baltimore a 14-point lead. Then to the air for Rice, 21 unanswered. And in the final minute of the opening half, a second reception for a touchdown by Graham.
Yeah, right now, Graham's a huge matchup. We're going to see him flexed out a great deal when New Orleans gets on offense to try to match up to some of the secondary. But right now, Baltimore needs a big conversion.
Second down run. Vilma wraps up Rice from behind up to the 26. It'll bring up third down and 5 for the Ravens.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 27, offense, tossing the ball at an opponent. Be half the distance to the goal. It's going to be third down.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that it has to do with the taunting after a play. Let's see what he does with the ball here. I don't know if he said something or he just flipped the ball to him saying, "Here." Yeah, see, it's something as subtle as that. It's simply a matter of they don't want it to lead to something else. You can't toss the ball forward after a spot. Here he flipped it to a player trying to show a player up. Officials are going to call it every time.
Well, he could lead his lips right there. He said, "I was tossing it to a ref." Well, the ref doesn't wear number 51 in a white jersey.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but you can get ticky-tack with it sometimes, but they want to send the message. They don't want to incite something else. That's the rule. You got to live by it. John Harbaugh's not going to buy it.
You never got angry on the sideline.
Never raised my voice.
And after your mom told you she thought you saw a couple of bad words come out of your mouth.
Yeah, I reverted to 12-year-old mode there. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is not a down and distance Baltimore wants to be in much.
Flacco all day to throw, now flushed out of the pocket, rolling right, and he'll just run out of bounds. So New Orleans should get very good field position after that penalty against Ray Rice.
And this is the confidence that New Orleans brings into it. Keep in mind, this defense is a top-rated defense. Last year, they were middle of the road, but they had a great number of turnovers. They were second in the league in getting the ball away. They're not there this year. They haven't gotten a lot of turnovers. But defensively, they rank in the top 5 or 6 of virtually every category. They have faith in their defense, even though they've been run on today.
Cook punts it from his own end zone. And Reggie Bush will get out of the way. It's down at the 48. You can't ask for much better field position to start the second half than the Saints have now. Saints crowned champions of the National Football League for the first time in franchise history a season ago.
I thought my ring was big.
I still like your Grinch hat.
We'll pull that one back out.
Pierre Thomas on New Orleans' first play from scrimmage offensively here in the second half. He gains a yard. No Chris Ivory for those of you just joining us. Talented rookie running back out of Tiffin is out with an injured hamstring. You see the Ravens in the third quarter. They have dominated the opposition.
And that's a big part of the success they've had, particularly here at home. This is what I expect more out of New Orleans, spreading it out like we saw at the end of the first half.
Reggie Bush inside the 45 to the 44-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd down and 2 for the Saints.
Boy, it's huge having Reggie Bush back for them. Their ability to move him in and out of a running back alignment, receiver alignment. They say he's 100% healthy. He looks good, but Tommy doesn't look like he has quite that burst back yet.
Well, they mark it in the 45, so it's 3rd down and 3. Breeze had a chance to connect with Meacham, but it's incomplete under heavy pressure from Ray Lewis.
Well, we said earlier, New Orleans, one of the best 3rd down conversion teams in the league, and you can't miss on this. It's just a little quick play action fake. He's looking for the quick flat pass or the trailer in behind. Ray Lewis pulling the trigger. How many times have we seen him do that? If Ray Lewis has lost a step, I don't see it.
Curious call there on 3rd down with Reggie Bush out of the game. Bring in Julius Jones out of the backfield for a 3rd and 3, but that's old news now. Punted and beautifully done by Morstead, hitting Baltimore down at the 7-yard line. A 7-point game with the home team in front. Brian, this is one of the more staggering statistics I have seen in a long time. A team 9-4 on the year. They have not scored an offensive touchdown in the second half of a game since they lost in Atlanta on November the 11th, week 10. They've had 3 touchdowns on returns of interceptions and a kickoff return by Reed last week. First down, incompleted pass by Flacco. Like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching our telecast today in 175 countries on AFN, the American Forces Network. We thank all of you and wish all of you a Merry Christmas. All of you so far from friends and family. We hope you're enjoying the telecast, and God bless you all. Flacco hit as he threw, and then off the hands of Ray Rice. Step for step with him was Vilma. Under heavy pressure was Flacco from Roman Harper. Harper having another outstanding year.
You know, the thing you're seeing right here, and you talked about here, Flacco just under duress. Harper here up on the line of scrimmage, showing pressure. Then late, what we call a late green dog. And Ray Rice not quite ready for the ball. The lack of scoring in the second half, Tom, I think that shows that they maybe lack an identity right now. They really don't know what to hang their hat on. The running game, the throwing of Joe Flacco, they're still searching for that.
3rd and long, a delay to Rice. And he'll only pick up 4 yards, so it's 3 and out for the Ravens on back-to-back drives to begin the second half. And make no mistake about it, the Baltimore fans have not been happy with some of the play calling by Cam Cameron. Of course, I'm not sure what city is happy with an offensive coordinator week in and week out, but after the loss to Pittsburgh, which John Harbaugh called the worst in his 3 years, Harbaugh called out a fan on his radio show who suggested firing one or more of his assistant coaches. Good punt. Backing up Reggie Bush to the 41. Slips a couple of tackles, and Bush into Ravens territory to the 48-yard line. But Harbaugh's Ravens still hold a 7-point lead in the third quarter. Baltimore Ravens have earned 6 postseason appearances in their 15-year history. And since 2000, they trail only Indianapolis, New England, and Philadelphia for most playoff appearances. First down carry for Reggie Bush. He picks up a couple of yards. And, of course, Brian Billick, you were the guy who started that run. You took over in 1999. The next year, won a Super Bowl in that 2000 season. You know, the one thing that I think surprises a lot of people as New Orleans goes into their hurry-up offense, much has been made in the past of the coaching trees, if you will, going back to guys like Paul Brown and Bill Walsh. His timeout is called by Baltimore. You know, later Mike Holmgren. But you know, you look around the NFL and the college ranks right now, and how many guys started or coached under you when you were here in Baltimore? Guys like Jack Del Rio, Marvin Lewis, Rick Neuheisel, now the head coach at UCLA, Rex Ryan with the Jets, Mike Singletary, you brought him back from being out of football for nearly a decade, and of course Mike Smith, who is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, who happen to have the best record in the National Football League. I think that's a great testament to the job you did.
It's good people, you know, and I'm not sure I didn't get more out of the equation than they did. And I give credit also to Ozzie Newsome, Steve Bisciotti, Art Modell for creating an atmosphere where that was important. We wanted to nurture the ability for coaches to go on with the idea that if people saw that as an avenue to better their career, they would come. So that was a great group of young men to be a part of.
Second down, Breeze guns it down the middle of the field, and that is a first down catch for Jeremy Shockey. So while they move the chains and the Saints in the hurry-up mode on offense, they're going to get it right back up to the line of scrimmage, and now they will go into a huddle. Let's check in quickly with Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Jacksonville stopped on 4th down by the Colts defense. Indy's offense turning it into points. Donald Brown, 43-yard touchdown run. Indy needing the win to stay alive in the playoff race. Needed 21 to end of the third. Tom and Brian.
Got to wonder when all is said and done if anybody's ever going to make a legitimate run in Indianapolis.
Yeah, they just that pedigree is too deep, too strong.
Wide open is Colston. And a touchdown saving tackle by Reed, but it's a first down to the Baltimore 19.
They set this up earlier. This is a well-orchestrated play. You're going to see Reggie Bush come into motion. They fit with a quick pump to get the linebackers to come up to what looked like was going to be a quick outside screen, and came over the top to the big Marcus Colston. Nice, well-orchestrated play call.
Ball is loose, and Breeze covers it up. It was stripped away by Jarrett Johnson, and after Johnson just whiffed on covering it, it went right back into the arms of number 9.
Jarrett Johnson here on the outside, kind of the unsung hero of the linebacking corps out of Alabama. I tell you what, this is an outstanding player, maybe the smartest player on this defense. Times it up perfectly, dips underneath Bushrod to strip the ball from Drew Brees.
Loss of 8. Johnson playing in his 111th consecutive game here today. Inside handoff to Bush. He got bottled up in some traffic down to the 24. So 3rd and long for New Orleans.
And right now New Orleans is running just enough to try to keep the Baltimore Raven defense honest. Sean Payton having such faith in his quarterback, Drew Brees. Normally you'd be thinking on a 3rd and long, let's shorten the field goal position. I don't know that Sean Payton and Drew Brees think that way. They'll be taking a shot for the first down.
Favorite targets on 3rd down are Colston and Shockey. Stripped away. And again the Saints recover. Terrell Suggs able to strip it.
This is a nice job of Suggs coming inside. Starts to lose contain. Brees breaks outside. Suggs not going to give up. Again, just like we saw with Jarrett Johnson, well-timed, stripping the ball from Drew Brees. Drew Brees trying to direct traffic down the field. Thought he had Lance Moore in the corner. Suggs coming to the rescue and knocking it out just at the last minute.
47-yard field goal try by Garrett Hartley. Chase Daniel takes a snap, and he draws it right back down through the uprights to get 3 and a 4-point spread. Drew Brees and the Saints come away with 3. They had it first down inside the 20, but Brees sacked twice. Hartley, the 47-yard field goal, and it's a 21-17 Baltimore lead. New Orleans jumped in front in the opening quarter, 7-0. Baltimore scored 21 unanswered. The last 10 points have been scored by New Orleans. Parmalee. Marvin Mitchell wraps him up at the 25. This is like Brian Billick's 3-wood. Take a look at this. Nice little draw.
Whoa, that's got some dog leg in that one, isn't it?
(21-17) Baltimore in front. Third possession for the Ravens here in the second half, and the first 2 have been 3 and out. That looked like Michael Orr again.
Well, and the fullback stepped
Ball
up.
start, number 33, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Le'Ron McClain.
You know, we've seen a couple of that by the Ravens. Uncharacteristic of the Ravens. You talked about the first 2 series, 3 and outs. Now they got to start on a 1st and 15. They got to find that composure at home when you're talking about going up against the reigning world champions.
Play fake to Rice, the screen to Rice. Breaks a couple of tackles. Still on his feet. Crossing midfield. What a run by Rice.
Screen game has been awfully good to Baltimore today. Ray Rice looking a little like Michael Turner from Atlanta. Now you're going to see him just set and then drift to the outside. The rush almost gets home on this screen. And then Ray Rice, look at how low to the ball or ground he is. Just underneath, and you can't bring him down with an arm tackle, even with a full-on hit. This guy just runs through it. Reminds me, as I said, a little of Michael Turner in terms of his ability to run through tackles.
First down of the second half for the Ravens. Rice will get it on the ground this time, and a good pickup. Gain of 5 on first down for Rice. Well, you see Rice, 20 rushes, 79 yards, 80 yards on his 5 catches and a touchdown running and receiving.
Anquan Boldin has been noticeably absent to this point.
McGahee, couple of nifty moves into the secondary and chopped down at the 15-yard line.
And again, watch the timing of it. Watch the slight hesitation. McGahee coming in. See, just waiting for it now once he sees the hole. Once it's established himself, you get a little bit of a burst here, sidestepping the tackle by the safety. The timing of the running game of the Baltimore Ravens is much better today than it has been in the previous 3 and 4 weeks.
Well, they run for 120 yards today. That's more than their last 2 games combined. McGahee again. Inside the 10, down to the 6-yard line.
Well, the New Orleans Saints and Greg Williams right now desperately needs a stop. He cannot let this Baltimore Raven team answer their field goal with a touchdown.
And a hurry-up offense, get right back to the line of scrimmage and give it to McGahee. Vilma slows him down. Very close to another first down. It is a first down, 1st and goal. And Vilma's shaken up. Two-time Pro Bowler Jonathan Vilma still down on one knee, and they'll stop play. We'll be back. Baltimore leading 21-17. 1st and goal at the 5.
Well, they're going to get 3 full cracks at this. I imagine we're going to get a heavy dose of Ray Rice.
On 1st down, nothing. All right, Brian is a play caller. What are you thinking about now? 2nd and goal, you're at the 5-yard line.
Well, the way Baltimore's been running the ball, you would think New Orleans would have to account for that. And if I'm Baltimore, I'm thinking a play-action fake, make you account for my running game like you have all day long here. See if I can get something with Anquan Boldin getting across the back of the end zone, maybe to one of my tight ends.
Rice out, McGahee in. Wide open, and he dropped it. LeRon McClain, who's generally a pretty good receiver out of the backfield.
Yes, he is, and boy, he's wishing he had that one back. Just what we talked about. Configure yourself to look like a run. Give me a quick play fake. The last guy you're going to account for is the fullback. They haven't gone to him a lot, and boy, that's as wide open as you're going to get. He had score. He was thinking about what dance he was going to do, and he got into the end zone. Needed to catch the ball first.
Rice checks back in. It's 3rd and goal. And down goes Flacco back at the 15-yard line in the arms of Jimmy Wilkerson. So 1st and goal at the 5 is now 4th and goal from the 15.
Yeah, this is just pressure off the outside. This is a great stop by New Orleans. They could not let Baltimore respond to the New Orleans field goal with a touchdown. 3 shots from inside the 5, and Baltimore can only come away with 3. Huge stop for Greg Williams and his New Orleans Saint defense.
Billy Cundiff now with a 33-yard field goal try. Good snap, good hold, and a good kick. So the Baltimore Ravens have still not scored an offensive touchdown since week 10. I mean, it's one thing to have that as a statistical reality. It's another thing to have that as a reality and be a 9-4 team. That is almost impossible.
Well, they've got to figure out what it is that's keeping them from scoring in the half, whether it's the approach they're taking with the play calling, whether it's the personnel they have on the field. To a degree, sometimes you're ahead. You might be a little conservative coming out of the half, or maybe it's the adjustments you're making. But you're right. For a good football team, it's something they're going to have to figure out before they find their way into the playoffs. And they're upset about something on the sideline. John Harbaugh, Flacco, who's normally not very demonstrative, looks like Anquan Boldin's a little upset. Here they're talking about maybe a late hit coming in. Yeah, and that's not blatant. It's kind of just laying on. Didn't lay a helmet into him, didn't hit him. But now there, you don't see Flacco this animated that often. I think you're seeing also a little bit of pressure of the game. I don't know what constitutes a late hit. The guy did try to pull off. It was Will Smith. Didn't lead with his helmet. But Flacco was none too happy about it.
So a 7-point game with 2:15 to play in the 3rd quarter.
You know, Cundiff has been a big weapon for them. His ability to get it into the end zone, when you have to drive 80 yards against this Raven defense, that's a long way to go. He hasn't quite gotten out of the end zone so far today. but New Orleans hasn't been able to crank off many big kickoffs either.
And there's one of those vintage Cundiff kickoffs. It'll chase Pierre Thomas into the end zone. Of course, the NFL every year names its Man of the Year. Jonathan Vilma, the nominee from New Orleans, and for the Baltimore Ravens is Derek Mason. And really, this is a beautiful piece of video that we're going to show you here in a minute on Derek Mason and some of the things that he does in and around the Baltimore community. And certainly both of those young men are to be commended. And even though, you know, a lot of other guys on their team are not the nominee, so many do so much good for so many around cities in the NFL.
And it doesn't get enough attention.
Colston up to the 29-yard line. That'll be a gain of 9 yards. One of the things Derek Mason likes to do is go on a karaoke tour, do a little karaoke parties at area retirement communities.
Yeah, and you know, obviously there's a lot of great programs, not enough for the elderly in this country. Derek, big part of the community in Baltimore, as he was in Nashville when he was with Tennessee.
Singing their Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Love it.
Yeah, great stuff. Pierre Thomas very close to picking up the first down, but he'll be inches, maybe a little less than a yard short.
New Orleans can't get too cute with this now. You're a 3rd and short. They're one of the best 3rd down conversion teams in the NFL. The best at 3rd and 10. They've already been denied a 3rd and 2 earlier. They can't be cut short here. They've got to keep this drive alive.
Well, they got Julius Jones in the backfield and Reggie Bush split far to the right. And now Bush in motion. And they pitch it to Julius Jones. And he got a first down.
That's a long way to go for a short yard. And New Orleans has been at their best when they stretch out this Baltimore Raven defense. I understand the need to run the ball, but I'd continue to keep this thing as spread out as I possibly can.
I got to ask you, after you have all that success, you know, in the final 2.5 minutes of the first half, are you a little surprised New Orleans hasn't gone into a little more hurry-up mode?
A little bit. Now was the end of the half, and obviously Baltimore is going to configure themselves a little bit differently, but that has when they have been the most successful at spreading them out.
Free play again for Breeze. They'll drop it off to Pierre Thomas, and that's a gain of 8 on first down for Thomas, but we wait on the penalty.
Offside, number 55, defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It's still first down.
Let's check in back in Los Angeles with Curt Menefee.
The Giants' Mario Manningham has a couple of touchdown receptions, but his fumble on the 25-yard line set up Philly's only touchdown of the game so far. Michael Victor Jeremy Maclin for an 8-yard score. It's a 2-touchdown Giants lead as they start the 4th quarter still. Tom and Brian.
First place on the line in the NFC East to the victor of that one today. That will be the final play of the 3rd quarter. A 7-point game with Baltimore in front. Fox NFL Sunday continues after this from your local Fox station. New Orleans jumped out in front 7-0. Baltimore scored 21 points to take a 14-point lead. Saints scored just before halftime to make it a 7-point game. We begin the 4th quarter with Baltimore in front 24-17. First down and 5 for the Saints from their own 36. Short drop, catch made, and that's good enough for a first down to Jimmy Graham, who has a pair of touchdowns in the game here today. Now, we talked about Baltimore and how dominant this team has been through 3 quarters of their games this year. But they have given up 4th quarter leads in 8 of their 13 games this year, including Houston scoring on its final 5 possessions last week to tie the game with left in a minute in regulation. Breeze Finds Meacham for a first down. Let's go downstairs to Chris Myers.
Tom, over at the Saints bench, and Brian was talking about more of the spread offense. That's something Sean Payton wants to do, but after that previous series when his quarterback was sacked twice and they were pushed back to a field goal, he indicated we got to get back to the run just to balance, just to take some of the pressure off of Drew Brees. Of course, they do not have Chris Ivory Moore, their power running back. Pierre Thomas is not 100%, so you'll see some run mixed in, but Sean Payton plans to go more with that spread.
Chris, thank you. They play fake it to Thomas. Brees being chased by Suggs and just throws it out of bounds.
You know, Tom, you alluded to what some of the difficulties Baltimore has had late in games. Let's remember this group, this defensive group of Baltimore, had 86 plays run against it on Monday night against Houston that they got in at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is a short week. This is a fatigued Baltimore defense right now that has to be a concern for John Harbaugh.
Baltimore is one of the oldest teams in the NFL, and a lot of that age is on the defensive side of the ball.
Showing pressure off the outside. What's Drew Brees got planned for it?
Pressure coming. They pick it up. Wide open is Devery Henderson. And that's a first down to the 21-yard line.
That's a great job by Drew Brees. He saw initial pressure coming off the weak side by Nakamura. You'd think that that's where he'd have to hit it, but then Nakamura, this guy right here, drops off, kind of okey-dokes him. Brees has something checked, realizes the pressure isn't coming from there, and comes back to Henderson on the other side. Great execution by Drew Brees.
Brees gets away. Colston, a first down inside the 10.
This is where you've got to be careful that you don't try to keep up with Baltimore with all the different looks, try to be too complicated with your checks. Mark Sanchez, to start the season with the New York Jets, really got caught short doing that when you saw a Matt Ryan much more calculated, all but at home when Atlanta beat the Baltimore Ravens. Drew Brees, no one better. Greg Madison obviously trying to dial up the right pressures against Drew Brees, because you can't be passive against this great quarterback.
Boy, he had an open receiver right there, Colston, and just threw it too high. He had beat Ladarius Webb to the inside.
Down here, Drew Brees has the assets he needs to get it into the end zone. We talked about the size of this receiving corps. Marcus Colston, 6'4". Jimmy Graham is every bit of 6'6". You got Jeremy Shockey, 6'5". He's got big targets to match up with this Baltimore Ravens secondary.
Reggie Bush dropped in the backfield by Jarrett Johnson.
Again, Jarrett Johnson, because of the Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs, Jarrett Johnson has been a huge part of the success of this Baltimore Ravens defense for a long time. He is so smart. You can put him in inside pass rusher, put him in inside backer, outside backer, drops like a safety. He's the true hybrid player that can do anything that Greg Mattson asked him to do in this defense.
Empty backfield, Brees out of the shotgun, 3rd and goal from the 15. Blitz coming. And Brees just throws it up in the end zone, and Moore caught it off the tip, but he's out of bounds. Or is he? They call it a touchdown. I'm sure they're going to take a long look at this. It went off the fingertips of Colston and then into the arms of Lance Moore standing behind him.
Well, Lance Moore coming down here at the bottom. We're going to see the ball tips up. Where are his feet? Does he have control? Boy, we're going to have to see this again. 2 elements to it, control and feet. Right there, it looks like he has control, and it looks like his feet are in bounds. Does he maintain control through the process? He does. This one's going to be reviewed. It's going to be interesting.
Of course, it would have to be a challenge from the Baltimore sideline, and still no challenge thrown yet.
Oh, you throw it. What the heck? Throw it, John.
Yep, he'll throw it out there.
And right now, the coach is up in the booth. This thing is running through the coach's booth. We'll talk in a minute about what that process is. You really don't get a lot of information. You make a call like this simply because of the situation.
Baltimore is challenging the ruling on the field of a touchdown.
By the way, John Harbaugh is 1 for 7 in challenges so far this year. Ruling on the field is touchdown New Orleans. John Harbaugh has challenged the call.
Yeah, and I think the call is going to be confirmed. There's a lot of elements to it here. Going off the hands right now with Moore. First off, we have to see possession. Stop right there. He has possession. Where are his feet? They are inbounds. Now as we continue on, does he maintain possession without bobbling the ball at all the way to the ground, and then comes up? He does. I believe the call on the field will be confirmed, which means they have visual evidence to see that the call was made correctly.
You know, oftentimes we overlook what these athletes are capable of doing. What a spectacular catch that is by Lance Moore.
On a 3rd and long.
Well, apparently the movie is over.
During the play, the ruling on the field stands. It is a touchdown. Baltimore is charged with the second timeout.
So Lance Moore, the undrafted free agent out of the University of Toledo, their second leading receiver behind Marcus Colston, makes his team leading 8th touchdown reception of the year, and none prettier than that.
No, and this is just, like you say, sometimes it's just the athletic ability, the concentration. Lance Moore, unbelievable in terms of a guy that, you know, he really shouldn't be doing this, but he really is a go-to guy for Drew Brees. You got Marcus Colston, obviously a big gifted athlete, but you're talking about an undrafted free agent as being a go-to guy in a critical situation. None bigger, none more critical than that.
So now the ever so important point after, when you're in this kind of a game, you can't have hiccups. And Hartley sizes it up, and it is good. Flag down on the play. It's offsides against Baltimore. They'll be penalized on a kickoff.
Offsides, number 21, defense. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. The try is good.
We thought it could be, perhaps, a preview of what we might see in the Super Bowl. And it's a good one so far. Of the defending Super Bowl champions, the MVP of the Super Bowl, Drew Brees, and the Saints fell behind 21-7. And they've marched back to tie it at 24 with nearly a full 4th quarter to play. Morstead hammers that into the end zone. So Flacco and the Ravens will get it at the 20. Pushing and shoving. Ryan Badejo. Among others. Well, next week on America's Game of the Week, the Green Bay Packers are praying that Aaron Rodgers can come back to face the Giants. Or Green Bay's playoff hopes could be slipping away. It's all part of an NFL on Fox doubleheader next week beginning at noon Eastern, 11 Central. You and I will have a big one down at Tampa Bay next week if the Buccaneers can hold off Detroit today.
Yeah, they've been an amazing story all week or all year long, and anxious to get down there and see if they can maintain it. Baltimore has got to start working something down the field, Tom. They've got a nice balance going running past. They're running the ball well, but they're going to need some big plays down the field if they're going to keep up with these New Orleans Saints now that the score is tied.
First down, they give it to Rice. And a big run for Ray Rice. Crossing midfield, run out of bounds all the way down to the 30, and flags fly after the play. This could tack on 15 more and put him inside the 20.
Roman Harper pleading his case, but I don't think it's going to make a difference.
A season-long 50-yard run for Ray Rice.
Was out of bounds. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 41. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Now Roman Harper will trot to the sidelines, unhappy.
Huge play, defense overrun it. Stop right there. You can see he gets walled off in here. Defense doesn't have the leverage it needs on the backside. Great run by Ray Rice. This is the one thing Cam Cameron said was missing from the offense this year. The explosive big runs. They're hard to orchestrate. You can't draw them up. They just happen. No bigger this year than that big run by Ray Rice.
129 rushing yards for Rice today. Second 100-yard rushing game this season. And on first down, he'll get it here. Now remember, this is where Baltimore got bottled up their last drive. They had first and goal at the 5-yard line and wound up fourth and goal from the 15 and had to settle for a field goal. This is still a Ravens team that, if you're just joining us, has not scored an offensive touchdown since week 10 in the second half.
And if they're going to keep pace with New Orleans, like we said earlier on the flip side, you don't want to trade touchdowns for field goals. New Orleans capable of going back down and scoring a touchdown. They need a touchdown here.
Yeah, pars don't win.
There you go.
Incomplete. Torrance, step for step with Houshmandzadeh.
And Baltimore has the size in its receiving core with Anquan Bolden, T.J. Houshmandzadeh. They miss Todd Heap. Having no Todd Heap in the lineup right now hurts them. But they've got enough size in the receiving core that they can get those one-on-one matchups in these reduced zones in the red zone.
Well, I mean, these wide receivers have done nothing for the Ravens.
Yeah, it's been all running game and throwing to Ray Rice on screens, and they motion him out right here.
Pump fake one way. Houshmandzadeh. Did he have it? No, they're saying he's out of bounds. He didn't have control as he was juggling that ball, and hopefully TJ's all right. That's backpedaling into a tunnel where it's a cement floor. I'm not sure if he fell down, but it looks like he's all right.
And we'll see if there was a bobble. Evidently, the official saw he had control of the ball eventually, but you're going to see here, does he have control as he gets the right foot down? Let's see with the left foot. No, never had control. Or I should say he never had both feet in. Good call by the official, all over it.
Well, we're going to find out at Park and Win, because the Ravens again will send out the field goal unit. And meaning by par, field goals are par, the birdies are touchdowns.
Well, we went 4 games in our Super Bowl run without 4 full games without scoring a touchdown at all. So I can sympathize with this group. No touchdowns and a half, that's no big deal.
32-yard field goal try, and it is good. Baltimore answers. A 3-point lead, 10:03 to go. Well, not sure what's going on in front of the Baltimore sideline, but there's a lot of jawing taking place between players from both sides.
Officials, you can tell the passion in this game. We talked about it's a big league atmosphere right now. A lot of jawing going on. The officials got to keep this thing under control.
Pearson Prelo.
He's basically saying, I have the right to line up here. This is my obligation. Don't tell me I can't be here.
Kerry Williams, number 29, doing a lot of talking on that Baltimore side. And they're about to hit each other. 31 and 29.
Cundiff needs one of these big kickoffs to make New Orleans start on its own 20.
Thomas going to bring it out. And Thomas still on his feet. An outstanding return all the way to the 28. Can Ray Lewis and the defense slow down Breeze and the Saints? We talked about it before the kickoff ever took place. Kerry Williams Pearson Prelo were jawing with one another. We figured they'd get locked up. Take a look at this. All the way through the play. And Williams gets away with one here.
Yeah, that's he got away with one on the field. I'm not sure he's going to get away with one from a fine. Motions are running high right now, just what you'd expect. New Orleans needs to stretch this Baltimore Raven defense out. I know you want to run. They got the fullback in here, but running against this Baltimore Raven defense, I don't know that that's going to get it done.
Julius Jones spins out across the 30 up to the 33-yard line. That'll be a gain of 4. Under 10 minutes to go in Baltimore.
Constant shuffling of people for New Orleans. They got their wide receiver set in now. Again, very talented group. They match up very well with the secondary of the Baltimore Ravens. I think spreading them out like they have him here is the best way to move the ball.
Short drop. Meacham's running the wrong way, and he may have cost his team a first down. He's a yard short. Let's quickly send it back to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
The Giants score to make it 31-10. 49 seconds later, the Eagles score. 65-yard touchdown pass to Brent Selleck, making it 31-17. The Eagles recover an onside kick and are now on the doorstep trying to pull it to within a touchdown. Tom and Brian.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. Meanwhile, Meacham had a first down, then went back the wrong way. So it's 3rd and a yard for the Saints. And able to slip through is Pierre Thomas. A first down up to the 43. Meacham, after that reception, limping alongside the New Orleans sideline.
And if you remove him from the equation, that's going to affect New Orleans' ability to stretch him out. They still have plenty of people with the big tight ends, Graham and Shockey, but that will hurt them a bit.
They spotted at the 41, a first down for the Saints. Breeze threw it right into traffic. Jameel McClain was all over the intended receiver, Jeremy Shockey.
And I love the chess match that's going on right now. The Baltimore Ravens, we heard Ray Lewis talk about it when we visited with them on Friday. Their defensive coordinator, Greg Matson, matching wits with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Pressure, zone coverage, man coverage, show blitz, drop out, show zone, bring pressure. They're showing it all right here.
Lance Moore, who had the big touchdown catch a few minutes ago, a first down reception, Baltimore territory to the 48. You can't say it enough. Is this another game where Baltimore will have it slip away late?
And New Orleans getting into a no-huddle mode to keep this spread out look for the Baltimore Ravens. This is cracking the code for them. They think this is the way to move the ball.
Batted ball at the line of scrimmage, 2nd and 10.
Baltimore made a point that with all the personnel substitutions that they were going to keep their substitutions to a minimum, that they were willing to play New Orleans in base people or go ahead and put nickel in rushing situations just so they didn't feel like they had to keep up with the New Orleans Saints and the substitution package they had.
Second down at 10 at the Baltimore 48. New Orleans trailing by 3. Screen to Bush, and just nowhere to go. Still on his feet, and all the way back to the 40-yard line. That is a loss of 12. Tavares Gooden and Terrell Suggs read it beautifully.
And Ray Lewis a part of that as well. You just don't screen the Baltimore Ravens. Ray Lewis is so intelligent. Look, he's blitzing, but recognizes right now it's screen and immediately peels off. They're such an intelligent, well-coached team. It's very difficult to screen the Baltimore Ravens.
They have to get all the way to the Baltimore 38 for a first down. Brees throws, incomplete. New Orleans will punt it away. So for the first time in a long while, this very proud Baltimore defense able to stop Brees and the Saints without scoring.
At this point, it becomes a field position game. New Orleans needs to punt the ball deep. They need a 3-and-out to get this good field position back. And it's a very familiar scenario for Baltimore. They are a field position team. They understand the value of this next series for them offensively.
Ladarius Webb at the 12-yard line and is dropped just short of the 20.
And this is where you can't get too conservative for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, you're up by 3. You've run the ball very, very well. Greg Williams knows that Cam Cameron wants to orchestrate a well-orchestrated drive here. Most of the passes probably coming off of play-action fakes, but you can't just run, and expect to move the ball against this solid New Orleans defense, even though you've run the ball well today. We've not seen the wide receivers a lot in the passing game so far. They're going to need to show up, in my opinion, whether it be Anquan Boldin, maybe Derek Mason on the backside after a play-action fake.
First down, they'll give it to Rice. New Orleans expecting the handoff, and a gain of 3 for Rice. Vilma on the tackle, back in the game for the Saints. Down to 6 minutes to go.
The other matchups that's been really good for the Baltimore Ravens is to take Ray Rice, maybe even motion him out of the backfield and get those kind of matchups with a Ray Rice and maybe a linebacker, because right now that might be the best matchup that they have if indeed they want to throw the ball.
213 yards from scrimmage for Ray Rice. Flacco to throw it, 2nd and 7. Houshmandzadeh with a first down.
Just what you'd expect. We talk about a play action fake. You're going to see Houshmandzadeh pull up here after the play fake, off coverage by the defense. All I'm looking for is a first down. I know where the chains are. Houshmandzadeh, one of the more intelligent receivers in the league, been with a couple high-powered offenses.
Remember, Jabari Greer was injured very early in this game. And that's Lee Torrance, number 24, who is in the coverage of Houshmandzadeh. Play clock basically down to 1 there, and they call a timeout, and they are out of timeouts. And while Flacco walks to the sideline, let's go downstairs to Chris Myers.
Tom, down on the field here, the officials making sure you can feel the intensity, even though the temperatures drop, the playoff chill is there. But we did want to point out Joe Flacco, the last 2 series, it's as if his team is behind, and maybe he's hearing you talk about the frustration of not scoring a touchdown. Usually mild-mannered. He's been very frustrated and almost calming himself down coming out on this last series. And as you pointed out, Jonathan Vilma, miraculous work by the medical staff of the Saints. His lower back, the previous series, they checked. They had to inject him with a painkiller. He's come out. He's, of course, the guy who takes in the defensive signals for New Orleans. Let's go back up to Tom and Brian.
All right, Chris Myers, thank you.
You mentioned it earlier, Tom. No more timeouts by the Ravens. That's a bad job of drawing here. Here we go. That could be a factor going down the way here. They've gotten gobbled up. They've had to call timeout because of some substitution issues. New Orleans having all 3 of theirs. We'll see if those lack of timeouts make a difference as we get near the end here.
Baltimore with a ball and a 3-point lead. Under 5 minutes to go. And Rice on first down. Chased from behind by Danny Clark. That'll be a gain of 3. Let's go to Los Angeles to Curt Menefee.
After the Giants scored to make it 31-10, the Eagles got a quick touchdown 49 seconds later, an onside kick, and then a Michael Vick touchdown. 2 scores in 2 minutes, and they pulled it within 7 with just over 4 left in regulation. Tom and Brian.
All right, Curt, thank you. While we were away, New Orleans spends its first time out of the second half, stopping the clock with 4:38 left.
Well, Greg Williams has got to play that game here. He knows what Baltimore wants to do with the ball. They've not been able to stop the run with the standard 7-man front. I've got to get my safeties involved. That does leave me vulnerable on the outside, and I'm down a corner with Jabari Greer down, as you mentioned. So there's a lot for Greg Williams to have to orchestrate here. At some point, you got to take a chance, load the box up, and say you're not going to run. Maybe I can force a turnover.
Anquan Boldin in motion. They give it to Rice, and he's able to stay on his feet and get up to the 45-yard line, which will bring up a 3rd down and 3. This is and now a flag comes in from the far side of the field. This could be a huge call.
After the play, personal foul, number 91, defense, shoving the player to the ground. 15-yard penalty, 4th down.
Wow. That's against huge. Will Smith. He can't believe it. Not sure what happened.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened, whether he said something or did something. But obviously, with 4:27 left on the clock, you've given them a 1st down. They're about 10 yards from field goal position as well to help expand that score that would require you then to score a touchdown to get the lead on the part of the New Orleans Saints. That's a big play.
Boy, it's a huge call. A 3rd and 3 goes to a 1st and 10, and Rice is chopped down by Clark after a gain of 2. New Orleans 2 timeouts left. With the clock ticking down to 4:15.
Yeah, this is classic 4-minute offense now. 4-minute offense traditionally says run the ball. Running back stay in bounds at all costs. If you've got to throw the ball, you need a completion at all costs rather than yardage, because anything but the ball hitting the ground to stop the clock, you want to leave at worst just a single possession for the New Orleans Saints.
Rice for 2, a big 3rd down. And of course, there have been a couple of very controversial calls offensively in situations almost identical to this in recent weeks for the Ravens. 2nd and 5 when they had the lead at midfield with 3:20 left against the Steelers. A turnover forced by Polamalu led to a touchdown. Then a 3rd and 2 with a lead, 2:54 left last week in Houston. They called for a pass. It was incomplete. Houston got it back, tied the game in the final minute. What do they do here?
Well, you're not going to be able to run it for a 1st down here. They may slip in a trap or a draw, but that's not going to get it done.
That won't get it done either. So now do you punt or do you attempt a very long field goal?
No, you got to punt this. It's too far off. This was a typical, or I should say this was the same situation where he passed up going for it here. Flacco hoping Ray Rice can do his magic. The one-on-one matchup, we said him versus a linebacker favors Rice. Didn't get it done there. But this is outside the range of Cundiff. You miss this, you've put New Orleans on a much shorter field than you want to.
Sam Cook has been the best in the NFL at pinning the opposition inside the 20 this year. And he'll do it again. Marcus Smith racing down to cover it up.
Well, that's just the way you draw it up. Lead guys responsible for keeping it in bounds, knowing exactly where you are. Kick it back in. Let the other trail guys take care of it. Just don't let it go into the end zone. Williams settling it inside the 5-yard line. All right, here's your matchup. You got a potential Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees matched up against Ray Lewis, who's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. Ed Reed on the back end. You only have 95, 96 yards to go.
twice last week against Houston. The Texans went 99 yards and 95 yards in the second half to rally back to tie it. And Brees from his own end zone just throws it away.
And this is where fans will get on a defensive coordinator for getting into a prevent, for being passive. Keep in mind, though, time is on your side. This is a long way to go. If you pressure, which is usually your instinct, you're creating one-on-one matchups. All it takes is for one guy to slip, one guy to break down, and against the Drew Brees, he'll find that guy. I imagine Baltimore is going to be fairly passive, thinking they can get home with a four-man rush.
Tip ball, but it's caught by Devery Henderson. And depending on where they spot it, he might have enough for a first down. Boy, there's a break for the Saints.
They need to have some urgency about them. They've got the 2 timeouts left and the 2-minute warning. So they're going to be able to have 3 stops of the clock.
Burning a lot of time here. Colston in traffic, and it's batted away. And Reed making the hit. Clock stops with 2:06 left.
Ed Reed, one of the smartest players I've ever been around. His level of preparation on a weekly basis, his looking at film. Sometimes he'll take some chances. Sometimes he'll get to knowing just a little too much. But right now his career has been about making more plays than he's given up. This is just the guy you want on the back end in these critical situations. Showing pressure against the no-back. Could leave themselves vulnerable unless they get home to the quarterback.
They just do get it off. And Reggie Bush may have picked up a yard depending on where they spot it. But that will take us to the 2-minute warning. Baltimore leading by 3. A 3rd and 8 from the Saints. Brees looking, and right through the hands of Marcus Colston.
Yeah, Colston coming across just a little bit behind him, had to reach back for the ball, would have liked to have led him just a bit more. I can't think of a team that would be better in this situation, but it's still 4th and 10. That's a long way to go against the Baltimore Ravens, backed up on your own 17-yard line.
Call it 4th and 8. They need to get to the 25. Well, Brees was signaling timeout before the play clock expired.
This is the second charge timeout, New Orleans, 30-second timeout.
Well, this is part of that game we talked about, Baltimore showing pressure. Now, normally in this situation, you'd think not. We've talked about many times on a 3rd or 4th and long. The vogue thing in the NFL to do is to bring pressure, make you get the ball out of your hand quickly, and not get the full yardage. But in this situation, I'm not sure that they wouldn't have dropped out. Drew Brees not liking the call that he had. Wants to give himself a few more options now.
Of course, Baltimore trying to keep pace with Pittsburgh. Steelers have a 1-game lead in the AFC North. Meanwhile, a loss here for the Saints would, for all intents and purposes, just about wrap up the NFC South for the Atlanta Falcons, who already have a 1-game lead on them. But first things first, a 4th and 8. ball, and it's intercepted. There is a penalty flag down in the play. It was batted in the air by Nada. Corey Redding came up with the interception.
Holding number 74, offense. The penalty is declined. Result of the play is an interception, first down.
And the Ravens, it appears, are going to come up, although not over yet, with their first win against a legitimate playoff team in a long, long time.
And a three-point game, just what we thought coming in, going down to the wire. Baltimore should be able to take a knee here. New Orleans has one timeout left. They can bring around about a stoppage of the clock, obviously, but it's not going to be enough for them. Looks like they're going to get in a formation to go ahead and hand this thing off, take a little more time off the clock than taking a knee. Here you can see Drew Brees stepping up. Haloti Ngata, a huge presence inside, bats it up in the air. This has been a problem for Drew Brees. Last year, he only had 11 interceptions. Actually, the exception for him has had 17 and 18 interceptions the 2 years prior to the Super Bowl year. When you throw as much as Drew Brees does, better than a 650 pace, you're going to have those kind of numbers. Without his backs, the injuries they had earlier has put him in a position where he had to force the ball a little bit. Sean Payton knows he's got a good football team and that he faced a good football team here today.
Rice on a second down carry. It brings up third down. You know, we talked about the Ravens. They had lost fourth quarter leads in 8 of their 13 games. The last team that they beat this year that you would consider to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender was all the way back in week 4 when they beat the Steelers. They have since lost to teams like New England, Atlanta, a second go-round against Pittsburgh.
Those are pretty good football teams.
Very good teams. In fact, in New England and Atlanta, the two best teams in the NFL, at least record-wise. Well, they're going to be forced to kick a field goal here or run some kind of a play. Although the play clock has not started, now it does. And there is roughly an 11-second differential between game clock and play clock. Ray Rice, a monster game.
Huge game.
Brees, 3 touchdowns, but the batted ball, an interception on their fourth down play a moment ago. And Flacco, the beneficiary of a much improved Baltimore run game here today. So here comes the field goal try. And it is good from 27 yards away. So this thing's not over yet. You have 9 seconds left. And in this game, you never know.
Yeah, we're apt to see a squib kick by Cundiff. There are some people that would make a case that you don't kick the field goal, that you take the clock down even further, don't run the risk. But I mean, gosh, you trust your field goal team to do what it can do in a chip shot range with 9 seconds left. By the time you squib kick this thing, there should be no more than 4 or 5 seconds left on the clock, and you give them a chance for just the one play. This is a good win for the Baltimore Ravens. They're serving notice that they're for real. Offensively, they ran the ball the way they wanted to today. Drew Brees and his group will be back. We got a tough game next Monday night against Atlanta. And as you said earlier, they'd have to be counting on Atlanta, beating Atlanta, and Atlanta then losing to Carolina. It's a tough combination for them. They will be this proverbial wild card team that nobody wants to play because this is a good football team.
Well, Reggie Bush has dropped back to receive his kickoff. Bush is going to have a chance to return it. I want to take a look to see where he was. We'll flip it to Colston, who will throw it back on the other side of the field to Bush, who's looking around. Still on his feet, Reggie Bush with a kicker to beat. Cuts it back to the inside, flips it one more time, and the game is over. There is a flag. Hold on a minute. There is a flag on the near side of the field.
It's going to be a forward pass.
Illegal forward pass, number 25 of the receiving team. Penalty is declined. The game is over.
So 30-24, the Ravens win it over the New Orleans Saints. Ray Rice, a huge game, 153 yards rushing, 5 catches, 80 yards receiving, and a 6-game winning streak for the New Orleans Saints comes to an end here today. 30-24 our final. We'll be back with more from Baltimore. The Ravens go to 10-4.